Hey, we'd like to thank you all for coming. This is the 2014 Work Zone Safety announcement. You know, every year we have this press event to draw attention to that dynamic between motorists who every year have to navigate through barrels and cones and lane changes, and the workers whose offices are on the roadway as they maintain West Virginia's bridges and roads and highways. So I just wanted to say that I'll be talking just about several little tips during the work zone safety season. You'll see that the national campaign actually says work zone speeding a costly mistake. And it's costly in so many ways, whether it's in the damage done to a vehicle or an injury that's done to a motorist or a worker, or even a fatality. And you'll hear from Lieutenant Bayless on really how costly that could be from a monetary standpoint. I'd like to point out, though, our partners, certainly anytime. I mean, this is just a true partnership in every sense, from the folks within the Department of Transportation and the Division of Highways, to our partners with the Federal Highway Administration, to our Contractors Association, and certainly we rely heavily on the West Virginia State Police and law enforcement. So, and they're up here, and we're going to hear from them. You know, there are a couple of quick pointers, though, I'll say, before, during, and after moving through a work zone. Before, we just like to talk about the 511. Know before you go. On our wv511.org website, you can see where all work zones will be through the spring and summer and the warm season, because they are out there. So know before you go. Go to wv511.org and look up where the work zones are. There's also, of course, a lot of other information that can be garnered through that website. During, there are just some simple rules for driving safely in a work zone. Of course, minimize distractions. Avoid activities when driving, such as, of course, using cell phones or handheld devices. You know, I often say there's so many other things to do in a work zone but drive. So we'd like to continue to enforce the fact that, or reinforce that, you need your both hands on the wheel. We need to look for. Keep your eyes on the road and pay attention. In West Virginia, holding a handheld device and or texting is a primary offense now. And as Lieutenant Bayless will allude to, we will be out enforcing it. Pay close attention, of course. Signs and work zone flaggers are out there. As I said earlier, this is their office. They work on the roadway. And if you were to stay out there, if you ever had an opportunity to be out there when travelers are moving 70 miles an hour within feet of you, it's not a good thing. We'll talk a little bit later about some of the statistics, but we want to get started by hearing from a guy who is responsible for a lot of those workers, or whose association is responsible for a lot of those workers whose offices are on the roadway. And that's the executive director of the West Virginia Contractors Association, Mike Klauser.
Thank you, Brett. I'm Mike Klauser. The Contractors Association of West Virginia, we represent about 475 member firms. We have 20,000 West Virginia workers and employees who are building a better West Virginia. And as we get into better weather, as we get into the construction season, we're going to shift into high gear. You see a lot of people out fixing potholes. You see the men and women, not only from the private construction workers, but the men and women of the West Virginia Division of Highways who are out repairing our roads, fixing our potholes, trying to make the roads safe for all of us. And they deserve to work safely. And they deserve to have the ability to go out, as Brent said, in their office and have the protections that we can afford them. I have the greatest respect for these people who are out here building these roads because it is not an easy job. They're out there in the heat, they're out there in the rain, they're out there with trucks and cars going 70 miles an hour past them, and it's their job day after day to make sure that we drive safe. We think it's our job to make sure that we provide them as much safety as possible while we are out there. Because, as Brent said, when you're out in open traffic, all it takes is a split second and it's over. And it is our desire of the Contractors Association of West Virginia to finish our work as quickly and efficiently as we can and to do it safe for the traveling public. But the traveling public has to do their part as well. There was a survey of our national association that just came out, and it said that of the people that were polled, 45% of the highway contractors noted they had vehicles crash into their construction work zone last year. That is an amazing number, 45% of those people who responded. There is little margin of error when you are traveling through a work zone, and we're very, as Brent also said, we're very few inches. And as the data shows, with nearly 50% of those responding say they've had a vehicle crash, certainly we are not doing enough to slow down. We are not doing enough to pay attention in the work zone. As Brent said, when you look at the cell phone, and all you have to do is take your eyes off of the road for 1 second. And I think our members and our people's employees on the job site would probably think that there is not a phone call or a message or a text that you couldn't wait 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or however long it takes to get to that construction zone before you respond to that. Because I would hate to think that it would be a terrible phone call to have to make to say that you just crashed into a work zone. And I think the only worst call that you could get under that scenario is you get a call that says your loved one working on the job was injured or even killed on the job site. And all of the men and women of our industry, all the men and women of the West Virginia Division of Highways, our sons and daughters and husbands and wives and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters. And our goal is to get them home safely every day. They are doing a great job on our behalf. They are doing a great job to keep us safely on the highway. And we appreciate everybody coming today to spread that message that we need a safe work zone. We need to slow down. We need to pay attention. And at the end of the day, we're all going to have a much better road system to which to travel and to do business. So thank you all for being here today.
And thank you, Mike, on behalf of all the men and women whose offices are in a work zone. Of course, we're talking about it throughout this distracted driving, and distracted driving is a whole bunch of things, but distracted driving kills. It's more than just texting or talking on the phone. There are other distractions. There are manual distractions, taking your hands off the wheel to change the radio station. There are visual distractions, taking your eyes off the road even for a split second. There are cognitive distractions, just taking your mind off the road. So when you enter a work zone, you need to be zoned in into just a very short distance so that you can get to your destination safely. I now want to bring forward a guy who will talk a little bit about numbers, and if he doesn't, I can fill in the blanks, but he's a great partner within the Department of Transportation, and he's with the Federal Highway Administration. He's a safety engineer for the FHWA, Ryan Brumfeld.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a national perspective on this issue. In 2012, there were 609 work zone fatalities nationally. Of the 609 fatalities, 130, or roughly 20%, were worker fatalities, and the other 80% were motorists and their occupants. Although 609 is far too many, it does represent a downward trend over the last 15 years. In fact, in 2000, there were 1,026 work zone fatalities nationally, So we have seen a roughly 40% decrease since then. This decrease is proof that efforts taken to raise awareness about work zone safety, to increase police presence in work zones, and to design and maintain safer work zones has made a difference. It's a reminder that if we use the right strategies, we can continue to make a positive difference in this area. In an effort to bring attention to work zone safety nationally, the Federal Highway Administration helps sponsor the National Work Zone Awareness Campaign each year. This is our poster this year for the campaign, and the slogan, like Brent said, is "Work Zone Speeding, a Costly Mistake." When drivers speed through work zones, they increase the time and distance it takes to stop or slow down for hazards in the work zones, such as lane shifts, queued traffic, or construction vehicles entering the roadway. This is often compounded when the driver is distracted. Inattentive drivers also take longer to stop or slow down for hazards. And as an example, a texting driver that takes their eyes off the road for just 4 seconds at 55 miles per hour will travel the length of a football field. In closing, I just wanted to share a couple of tips for drivers and workers related to work zone safety. Drivers can help by being prepared to react to the unexpected, which means obeying posted speed limits and, of course, limiting and minimizing distractions. By paying attention to signs, which each provide important alerts and instructions. And by being patient and staying calm when you encounter congestion. As Brent said, drivers should use the new West Virginia 511 system to know about delays before they leave. Workers can help by installing and maintaining traffic control devices correctly, by wearing safety equipment that is visible to the traveling public, and by remaining attentive and engaged in every task, because complacency can lead to mistakes, which often leads to accidents. So remember, your friends, neighbors, and fellow West Virginians work and drive in these work zones. So please take your time and pay attention when traveling through work zones in West Virginia this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. You know, he gave those national statistics. In 2013, there were 453 crashes in work zones in West Virginia. Over the last 3 years, there were 1,326 crashes in work zones. 2 years ago, we had 6 deaths in work zones, 6 work zone fatalities. In last year, 2013, we had 2. Yeah, it seems like we're going down, but you know, that's too many. And I think we can give you all the statistics, but it's enough to make you angry, really, when you think about something that in speeding or being distracted through a work zone, it's something that we can avoid. Because even those 2 fatalities, I mean, our next speaker can talk about what it's like to have to tell a family that their loved one was killed as a result of an accident in a work zone. So it's one too many. To talk about that, and also how costly a mistake speeding through a work zone is another wonderful partner of the Department of Transportation, the West Virginia State Police, and First Lieutenant Michael Bayless.
Thank you, Brent. You know, West Virginia State Police is very pleased to be part of this project here. You know, we work very well with the Department of Transportation, have a great working relationship, and I'll just start off by saying the same thing I've said for the past few years, and that's yellow and blue make green. When you see these yellow vests on the workers in these work zones and you don't slow your vehicle down, then the next thing you may see are the blue lights on our cruisers. And when you see that, what that means is that's where the green comes in. And it's going to be the court costs and the fines that come with your irresponsible behavior. But you know, it's not all about the fines, even though they're costly, and that's important to a lot of people. What it's about is reducing fatalities and creating safer roadways within West Virginia for the traveling public. And under the direction and leadership of First Sergeant Chris Zirkle, our Director of Traffic Records, over the past year, we've started some new initiatives, and we've been very successful with that. And we've focused on areas with high fatality rates and DUI rates. And as a result of that, we saw approximately 30 less fatalities last year from the previous year. And we want to continue with that, and that's why this project's important to us. So again, we're always looking for new initiatives, and we hope to come to you very soon here within the next couple of weeks and talk about a new initiative that's in the works with the Department of Transportation that we hope that will specifically focus on these work zones and encourage people even more to slow down when going through there. As Brent said, one of the worst duties in our position is delivering a death message. If you've ever had to go to a family and tell them that their loved one is not coming home because of the irresponsible actions of someone else, it's just devastating and heartbreaking to do that. And so what we're asking is that everybody take responsibility here and help us out, and let's see if we can make the roadways within West Virginia much safer for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Bayless. So we're going to have part of the National Work Zone Awareness Campaign in every one of our welcome centers across West Virginia. It is the theme, work zone speeding, a costly mistake, in so many ways. I mean, yeah, it can hit your pocketbook, but it's just such a bigger deal than that. We've had a tough winter. A lot of road repairs are being made. We're making a dent, if you will, and in the road repairs, whether it be potholes or paving. But it is the season, and we've got across the state several work zones through the end of the summer. So to kind of give a broader perspective within the West Virginia Department of Transportation, it's my honor to introduce the Secretary of Transportation, Paul Maddox.
Thank you, Brent. Good morning, and I want to thank everyone for coming and helping us spread the message of safety in West Virginia's highway work zones. Many of us and our families, we drive on West Virginia's roads every day. Please recognize when you're entering a work zone, be cautious as you progress through them, and remember that the reduced speed limits do not mean that it is safe to distract your eyes from the road. I'm glad that the dangerous practice of using a handheld device while driving became a primary offense last year, and that our police are targeting these activities. Texting and talking while driving, however, are only a few of the dangerous activities motorists can engage in while driving. Driver fatigue, excessive speed, driver distractions, and aggressive driving also contribute to senseless work zone accidents. As you've heard this morning, and will hear from us many times this construction season, we're all in this together. Stay alert and slow down. We take for granted that most of us work in a safe, comfortable environment, forgetting that there are those whose work environment is a high-speed highway. These brave men and women work in dangerous conditions every day to make our roads safer. So today, through the construction season and beyond, I ask you to remember that these workers are members of our communities. They're mothers, fathers, friends, and loved ones, working our highways to make them safe for all of us. In the summer months of a construction season, about 20% of the national highway system is under construction. It is a sad statistic that tens of thousands of people are injured and hundreds are killed within work zones. A common misconception is that highway workers are the only ones at risk. But the sad reality is that the majority of those injured in work zone These accidents are either passengers or drivers within the vehicle. I believe, Ryan, you mentioned 80%. These injuries and deaths are preventable. When you're driving through a work zone, protect not only the workers, but yourself, your passengers, and other motorists by slowing down and staying alert. Give our highway workers a minute of your time. Slow down to ensure the safety of everyone. Truly, we are all in this together. This is about more than obeying the law and being aware of your surroundings. It's about respecting workers as well as the hazardous situations that they are confronted with on a daily basis. It is imperative that we all work together to make our work zones as safe as possible. Please utilize our 511 system, our website, and our driver safe app to know where construction is occurring before you begin driving. Safety must be a priority every single time we get into our vehicles. Brent, everyone attending, again, thank you very much. It's very important for us and for the men and women that we see behind us, that small fraction of the great workforce that we have at the Division of Highways that are out making our roadways safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. That does it for us, but in summary, again, slow down in work zones, avoid distractions, know before you go, wv511.org, pay attention in the work zone, turn it off, put it down, just drive. And we'd also like to reach out and say a big thank you to our traffic engineering department, Cindy Kramer and Donna Hardy, because we're going to be throughout the whole work zone season paying particular attention through the airwaves and others. This is a big campaign for us, and last year we had 2 fatalities, too many. We had over 400 accidents last year, 400 too many. So we can't state that enough. Thank you very much, and slow down. Safe travels.